Now, in some certain religions, tithing still seems to be a thing. I don't know why, but whatever. Look, if you want to give your money over to the church, that's fine. But the question here is, would you do it at the expense of feeding your children? Well, one Mormon leader says, yes, absolutely. Tithe instead of feeding your kids. And he's got a personal story that he wants to share of his father doing exactly that. Let's take a look.
When I was young, I worked in my father's factory during vacation. The first question my father always asked after I received my salary was, "What are you going to do with your money?" I knew the answer and responded, "Pay my tithing and save for my mission." After working with him for about 8 years and constantly answering his same question, my father figured he had taught me about paying my tithing. What he didn't realize was that I had learned this important principle in just one weekend. Let me tell you how I learned that principle. After some events related to a civil war in Central America, my father's business went bankrupt. He went from about 200 full-time employees to fewer than 5 sewing operators who worked as needed in the garage of our home. One day, during those difficult times, I heard my parents discussing whether they should pay tithing or buy food for the children. On Sunday, I followed my father to see what he was going to do. After our church meetings, I saw him take an envelope and put his tithing in it. That was only part of the lesson. The question that remained for me was what we were going to eat. Early Monday morning, some people knocked on our door. When I opened it, they asked for my father. I called for him, and when he arrived, the visitors told him about an urgent sewing order they needed as quickly as possible. They told him that the order was so urgent that they will pay for it in advance. That day, I learned the principles of paying tithing and the blessings that follow.
Wow, what a heartbreaking story. Now, some people look at that and go, inspirational. See, he paid the tithe, and then God repaid him with sewing orders. Fantastic. What a wonderful story. Well, I don't agree. What I got from that story is, screw feeding your children, you got to pay your tithe. Feed the church, man, not your kids. Well, now, wait a minute. Now, look, this guy, he was General Conference Elder Valerie V. Cordone. And look, again, story, a little bit heartbreaking when you consider that the Mormon Church earns about $7 billion a year just from people that are tithing. So, wait, if you were making billions of dollars off the backs of the poor, I don't consider that very godly. But then again, I am a godless heathen atheist. So, there's that. Now, if you do follow the Bible, if you do follow religion, well, Jesus said in Luke 6:20-21, blessed are you who are the poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Right? So, look, blessed the poor. Well, then why would the blessed poor be required to give even more to feed a church that happens to, of course, take in so much money? Jesus didn't follow it up by charging people 10%. Hey, you know, those loaves and fishes, man, money's got to come from somewhere. Give it up. No. You know what I would call that? I'd call that a ripoff. Just saying. Besides, what does God need with your money? Why does God need a starship? Obligatory Star Trek reference. I apologize. But look, I know I might get a lot of comment. Hey, Jeff, no, you don't understand. The church, it does charity. So that's why it needs all this tithing money to do charity. Well, look, yes, some of that money does go to charity. Also, some of that money goes to lobbying politicians. So you can't really say, you know, it all goes to good causes. In fact, a lot of these churches will actually go and fund anti-LGBT legislation. So, there is that. But look, yes, the church does do positive things. They do some charity. However, why doesn't God just do the charity then? Why does it fall upon us to do it? Why do we need to pay them at all? If God can do it, if God's all powerful. Look, I'm just asking. And maybe that's an unfair question, but it's a question nonetheless. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't tithe if you really believe. Look, if you want to, look, in my opinion, toss your money away to the church, hey, that's fine. And again, I'm sure some churches use that money strictly for charity. And in that case, God bless, literally. But here's my problem with this whole story. You don't ask for tithes to be from people who are broke. Okay, that's my problem. See, if you're a wealthy person and you're godly and religious and you want to tithe away, man. Have at it. But if you're poor, the church should help you. You shouldn't be forced to help the church. And right now, the Mormon church, if you want to be a part of it, requires that everyone tithe 10% of their income. Whether or not you can afford this. So that's a problem. And another problem I have is right now, there's too many religious people in organizations that happen to be in it for the money. For example, Pat Robertson, great example. Guy loves to claim that he can cure people through the television, right? And of course he asks for your money. Hey, I need this money. All these different televangelists. You got Joel Osteen, right? He's another guy that's out for your money. And look, there are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who believe in these people, who believe in this stuff. And I feel bad for them because, look, if you're sick, and I saw this thing on Pat Robertson, man, where, this person's like, oh, I watch your show all the time. I've got MS. It's terrible. I've donated to your show. I'm on a fixed income. And God's like, Pat Robertson's like, well, God is going to heal you one of these days. But you got to get right, and you got to get sending more money, and you got to exorcise the demons. And then you will be healed from your MS. It's snake oil, man. You're not going to get healed. God, if there is a God, doesn't care about your 10%. He's freaking God. God doesn't need money. You need money, unfortunately, to survive. For God's sakes, literally, take care of your kids. And if you really want to help the church and you're poor, you can always volunteer. Volunteer your time. And if that's not good enough for your church, then maybe you need to go and find a new church. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.